Welcome to Sisterly Sundays podcast, where faith, motivation, and sisterly love intertwine to empower women on their spiritual journey. Join us each week as we delve into heartfelt conversations and share inspirational stories that uplift and guide you through the challenges of life. I'm your host, Dr. Sheniqua Johnson, aka Sheniqua Inspires. Let's get into this week's message. Welcome to Sisterly Sundays podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sheniqua Johnson, aka Sheniqua Inspires, bringing you your dose of motivation and encouragement to get you through the week. Today's podcast is presented by Stronger Through Faith Media, helping you get your message to millions. Let's get into this week's message entitled Intentional Healing. According to the Webster's Dictionary, it defines the word intention as a determination to act in a certain way. In other words, it starts with the decision to do something and it subsequently gets followed by an action. Your thoughts become your action. I find I am my most productive when I set daily intentions. I take my thoughts and I release them into the atmosphere, whether verbally or in writing, and those words now become my actions for the day. So, for example, if I set the intention to get on my treadmill in the morning, then I verbally declare it. I set it in my mind that this is a non negotiable and I'm going to get on that treadmill. And somehow it motivates me to get it done. Intention is also defined as a process or manner of healing a wound. A wound is a place where injury has occurred. It can be physically, mentally, emotionally, or even spiritually. You can even have financial wounds, like experiencing bankruptcy, abruptly losing a job, not getting that promotion. All of that can result in a financial deficit and create a financial wound. A wound, if not addressed, can cause damage to the underlying tissue and the organs. This is why it is important to heal. Intentional healing. Intentional healing focuses on the thoughts on those areas, right? So you're putting all of your brain waves, your thoughts on those areas that need to be healed. And then you're initiating a plan for healing. So the thought becomes an action. Now, there are 3 stages or 3 ways a wound can heal. Allow me to put on my nurse cap for a moment and teach this thing. Primary healing or primary intention occurs when the doctor decides to close up a wound manually. So they do this either by using stitches, staples, or glue. Not that Elmer's glue, the medical glue. What it does is it takes a larger wound and it closes it to a smaller size, giving the body less work to do. Primary intention helps to make the healing process quicker and easier for the body. Somebody shout speed and ease, speed and ease. Secondary healing or secondary intention occurs when the doctor decides to leave the wound alone. We're just going to leave it alone and allow the wound to heal naturally and unassisted. Now, it's totally up to the body now to do all of the work. It's going to put in all of the work and the effort in order to restore itself. Somebody shout, slow and steady, right? That wasn't as easy and fun of a shout as that quick and the speed and ease. But sometimes it has to be by slow and steady. The tertiary healing or tertiary intention occurs when the doctor delays closing the wound, right? It delays closing the wound primarily due to an infection. So they will intentionally leave it open to allow the impurities to exit before closing the wound. So say you got to heal before you seal, right? You got to heal before you seal. Now, it's time to be intentional about healing your wounds. You were wounded by the sudden death of your loved one. You were wounded by the loss of that relationship. You were wounded by the backstabbers on your job. You were wounded by the layoff. You were wounded by the miscarriage. You were wounded by the abortion. You were wounded when they overlooked you for that position. You were wounded when you didn't get the promotion. You were wounded when they didn't choose you. And you were wounded when they acted as though they didn't see you. And you know what? You got up. Somehow you managed to dust yourself off. You got another relationship. You got another job. The world kept revolving, and so did you. But you never healed. You kept applying band-aid after band-aid after band-aid to the point where you can't even tell where your injury started. All you know is you are sitting here hurting. You are sitting here wounded. You are sitting here actively bleeding, and you don't know where the hole is. You don't even know where to put the gauze. You think it's your head, but it's really your heart. And you are unconsciously or consciously bleeding all over everyone you meet. Nothing is growing because what started out as water is now tainted and it's soiled with blood and infection from that wound that was identified but never healed. You never sought anyone to assist with closing the wound. You thought you could do it yourself. I don't need nobody. I could do it myself. So you maxed out all your credit cards in an ill attempt to heal, right? Vacations are not going to heal the problem. I don't care how many mani-pedis you get, it's not going to heal the situation. You just took your attention off of it. You stopped thinking about it. You stopped talking about it. No more declaring and decreeing. You stopped praying about it. You were convinced, God knows my heart. And you stopped seeking help because you were convinced moving on was the answer. But I stopped by to tell you Moving on isn't the answer. Healing is the answer. Let's apply the different types of healing right here. Primary intention. Baby, get some help. Please and thank you. Talk to Jesus. Let him see how deep that wound is so he can take away the pain. He can make it smaller so there is less that you will have to do. He can make it easier for you to deal with, easier for you to move on with, right? For you to get through it. Get a therapist, right? If you ain't going to talk to Jesus, please speak to your therapist. Get a strategic plan for working out and releasing that trauma, the stress from every situation, even the small ones that you think don't even matter. Someone told you no. Baby, deal with those feelings of rejection. It was a trigger, right? It was a trigger. Why did you get so upset about it? It's simply because it was a trigger from a wound that you never healed from. They didn't mean no harm. They weren't trying to drop no shade on you. No cap. But you were unhealed. So it triggered something in you. Now you think they're the enemy because you never dealt with the inner me. It's time for you to address those small offenses that put you instantaneously on the defense. Someone cut you off. Deal with that sense of entitlement. It's time for us to intentionally heal. They say with every new level, there's a new devil. And Maury says, that's a lie. There's only a new devil if you haven't healed from the last one. Every time you start a new job, you need to ask yourself, did I heal from the last job? Were there any underlying scars, bruises, or bumps that may have occurred in my last position, in my last encounter with people? Same with relationships. Yay, you found a new boo. But can you heal from last boo before you boo-boo all over your new boo? Even if exiting was your choice, we must learn to grieve closure. We need to release so we can reset. Your healing process may be easy. It may only be a small wound because you've gotten help. But then there might be an occasion when God might say, nah, boo, we leaving this here one open because there is a process that needs to occur. We can't rush this type of healing because there's a lesson that you need to learn. Now, it may mean you got to ride this one out solo, right? You got to ride it solo for a while so that you can get your ish together. It may take months or it may take years, but you are a work in progress. You're going to have to learn how to love yourself. You're going to have to learn how to sit in your continual healing. We so quick to put the ED at the end. We want to run to the finish line. But what if, just what if part of your process is to sit in the continual healing? Meaning that it's going to continue. It's not a one and done. It's not after you get over this hurdle, there's no more hurdles. No, it is a process. You might need to journal out those emotions instead of taking to social media, talking about, they asked me what was on my mind. We didn't know you were unhealed. There is no quick fix for this type of a healing. You got to just give it time. And God's time, not your time. Maybe your wound is in that tertiary phase and it's infected. And God's got to drain all of that negativity out of you. Right? And you quick to blame all of that negativity on your mama and your daddy and your nana. You quick to blame it on everybody else. But what if this wound is infected because of you? Because of your negative self-talk. So God says, nah, I'm intentionally leaving this thing open because we got to let that low self-esteem seep out of you. That victim mentality has got to be purged from your system. God may need to put a drain in to free you because you keep holding on to all of that mess. You keep going back to the place of vomit. You too prideful to release it. You too ashamed to let it go. You too scared of what other people might think about you. So God has to make a hole. And now he's got to force you to let it go. It's time to be intentional about your healing. I pray that this week's segment blessed you in an abundant way, and I pray that it expedites you in your healing. May you have a swift recovery process. But guess what? If it's not going to be a speed and ease, I pray your comfort and your peace through your slow and steady. And I pray your progress and your prosperity. But just remember, you got to heal before you seal. So before you try to move on, make certain you are intentional about your healing. Be blessed. Are you loving this week's segment of Sisterly Sundays podcast? If so, subscribe and share this message with those who could use a little encouragement to get them through the week. Connect with me on all social media platforms at Sheniqua Inspires. The encouragement continues every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my podcast, The Black Girl Encourage Her. You know, the place where we are delivering the encouragement for everyone. We just so happen to do it from a Black girl's perspective. You can catch those episodes on my YouTube channel, Sheniqua Inspires. And don't forget to subscribe and share.